All right, guys. Welcome to the channel. Glad you guys could stop in here. Um, as you guys have probably known from some of my previous videos, is that I'm very interested in Bitcoin. I'm an investor in Bitcoin long term. It's an interesting time right now for Bitcoin, right? We got basically the federal government's boasting about their ability to just have nonstop quantitative easing, printing more and more money nonstop to help keep the economy afloat and help keep the stock markets from crashing. Um, but for a lot of you guys that know about Bitcoin, just recently, last week, Bitcoin is doing the opposite of what the federal government is doing. And Bitcoin is experiencing, instead of quantitative easing, they're experiencing a time of quantitative diamonding or hardening. Bitcoin is a scarce asset, okay? Unlike the federal government that can print more and more money nonstop, unlimited amount, Bitcoin only has a set number of Bitcoin that will ever be in existence, and that number is 21 million. Out of that 21 million, there's only roughly another 2.6 million left available that will ever come into the market, okay? Um, Previously, about 2 weeks ago, Bitcoin's supply that was coming into the market was 12.5 Bitcoin every 10 minutes. Those are being mined by advanced computers, solving complex algorithms, and the people that pay for the energy supply for these miners to be run and to solve these algorithms, they get rewarded in Bitcoin. So that used to be 12.5 Bitcoin. Now it is 6.25 Bitcoin that come into the market every 10 minutes. So um, just to relate this to other assets that you guys might know, like oil or gold, this would be a similar scenario in oil if all of a sudden half the oil rigs just shut down and stop drilling oil. The price of oil would go up because that supply is getting cut down drastically. It would be the same thing as if half the gold mines all of a sudden collapsed and half the mining companies had to go out of business. The price of gold would go up because there's less gold coming into the markets because of those certain situations. Um, in regards to the federal government, it would be like if um, an asteroid made out of $1,000 bills just crashed into the United States. The supply of the U.S. dollar is just going to go up. So what's going to happen to the value of the U.S. dollar? It's going to diminish to nothing because there's just so much of it out there. So that's just kind of put into your mind what's happening here with our current economic situation and why the price of Bitcoin has been going up. So I wanted to look at some longer term technical analysis. I'm a technical analysis trader. I do lots of swing trading, but I wanted to do some longer term technical analysis here because there's some interesting things that are about to happen here with Bitcoin. We have lots of resistance coming up, and we got strong support with some major moving averages that Bitcoin's currently holding. So I'm going to go ahead and bust out some trend analysis here. Let's go ahead and bring up Bitcoin. I'm going to bring up my BLX charts. So we're mainly going to be looking at some weekly and monthly technical analysis here, see what's happening with Bitcoin, and we're going to look at previous price action with certain movements of moving averages. So let's go ahead and look at the 21 and the 50 weekly moving average with Bitcoin. Bitcoin has had some crosses here when the 20 moves on top of the 50 weekly moving average, like it did back here in 2012. Bitcoin, from the time that happened to the top of that bull market, it went up roughly 18,000%. Okay, so 18,000% return, and then it's also had another time in history. Oh, for some reason it's gone. I had this drawn out, but somewhere right here, and then from the top of the bull markets, roughly 6,600% return from that 21 and the 50 cross to the top of the bull markets. And then we had it last year, roughly a year ago here in June of 2019, but this one only led to a 54% return. And then Bitcoin was holding solidly, putting a descending triangle, and fell through the 21 weekly, and that led to what this pullback was. But a lot of people say that this is a bear market here for Bitcoin. I am under the assumption and belief that Bitcoin technically has never been in a bear market because it's always respected and held the 200 weekly moving average. So if you're always on top of the 200 weekly moving average, It's come down a wick below it a few times, and it's had a few times where it's closed like $2 or $3 below it, like down here under the 200 weekly, which is just a macro sign of strength. Even back here, back in 2015, Bitcoin closed the 200 weekly at 232, and the weekly movers was like 235. So basically, it was like $2 or $3 below it, so nothing major, but there's some stuff happening here with Bitcoin that I want to point out real quick. As you guys were just shown that we only had this 54% return this last time the 21 and the 50 crossed, but here soon, Bitcoin just trades sideways where we're at right now. Bitcoin will get it once again, this 21 weekly moving up, and we're going to have this 50 weekly trading sideways, and we'll eventually get that cross here of the 21 and the 50. The thing about this is that we'll get that cross potentially here, even if Bitcoin just trades sideways, but we've got this longer term resistance just overhead. So I'm going to bring out the monthly real quick here. Monthly, it's much easier to see it. In between this 9,300 range, where all of the tops of these monthly candles are closing at, and where these wicks came up to at 10,500, this is all overhead resistance. It is like a 12% range. So Bitcoin's got 12% resistance overhead, but we are getting this one monthly candle so far, about halfway through the month, looking like it's going to close on top of the last month's moving average. So we're getting signs of strength here. We're holding on top of the 21 monthly as well, but we got that convergence of the moving averages on the weekly with the longer term overhead resistance. Might be putting in like a giant cup and handle, possible W pattern formation here, where we're going to get that W, and then you get that breakout above that 10,500. Let me go ahead and come to my other chart here. So on top of the overhead resistance that we have just overhead, clearly at the 93 to 10,500 range, going back here, multi-year resistance, going back to December of 2017, all-time highs started at 20,000, and we've had this clear trend line that just is keeping Bitcoin down, especially during the course here. What is this? Over the course of the last 322 days. So many touches here on it. We got touches 3 there, go 1 or 2 there, and then another 2 here. So trend analysis, this trend line should be getting weaker and weaker, but we also got this trend line here that Bitcoin, this rising wedge that Bitcoin broke out of a few weeks ago, that Bitcoin might now just chunk around here in this until it decides either to enter into a new bull market, new strong bull trend, or to fall back down here and potentially retest this 200 weekly moving average. So just keep your eye on Bitcoin here. I'm extremely bullish on Bitcoin long term. So long term, for me, it's going to be around the next year and a half to the rest of my lifetime. Okay, but I think that the next bull run could take Bitcoin up to 20,000 to potentially 50,000 plus dollars. But we gotta get through this resistance that's overhead. So Bitcoin literally could be within another week or 2 weeks here before a decision point has to be made if it's going to take off and go upward, or if it's going to roll back over and potentially come down to the 6,000 area and retest this 200 weekly. For me, I'm all in at the current moment. Probably won't have a stop loss unless we get multi-week closes down here at like 5,100 or something. So I'm extremely bullish on Bitcoin. Hold if you believe in it. Trade it if you don't believe in it. It's awesome to trade, but you need to use stop losses because you will get eaten alive. And do not use margin, because that will eat you alive as well. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, go ahead and leave a like. I'll update you guys next week on some of my day trades and swing trades that I started taking. All right, guys. Have a good one. Peace.